three great comedies. Death at a Funeral. The film is introduced with a stylized coffin making its way along stylized roads to the deceased's house. We only see the four coffin bearers when they bring the coffin into the deceased's living room. This introductory device allows us to be rid of the usual film credits which we can't possibly care about. The deceased's eldest son, Daniel, who is organising the funeral of his father, has the imposing coffin opened. What a surprise. And it foreshadows many surprises to come. The corpse in the coffin is not his father. While the coffin bearers are fetching the right corpse, Daniel is left distraught. He is trying to make something of his father's eulogy. He also has to cope with his persistent wife, Jane, whose insistent demand is that has Daniel paid the deposit for a flat they want to buy. We then see Howard, a pal of Daniel, in his car on the way to the funeral with the unlikely Justin. The odd-looking Justin is only going to the funeral because he fancies Daniel's cousin. Well, we soon learn that although Justin and Martha once had a one-night stand, Justin, hasn't a hope. Martha wants to marry her boyfriend, Simon, who is in a different car on the way to the funeral with her. She is the daughter of the deceased man's brother, Vincent, who is a doctor, a bad-tempered and officious man that he is. Martha and Simon have to collect another cousin, Troy, a drug dealer who is studying to be a pharmacist. While the drug cousin gets ready, Simon is so morose about the funeral and meeting up with the father that Martha pops him a pill from a bottle on a table marked Valium. When they arrive at the funeral, Simon holds intense meetings with the garden greenery. He is so peculiar that Martha is obliged to tell him that she, in error, gave him a hallucinogenic, not a Valium, but a hallucinogenic. Meanwhile, Daniel's brother, Robert, arrives from New York, foolishly letting on to one and all that he, who had promised to pay half of the funeral costs, had come over by aeroplane on first class, and it was at a remarkably heavy cost. There is much in the way of family jealousy, resentments, and arguments. And the English minister, who is anxious to begin the service, hustles the guests because it seems he has a further afternoon appointment that he doesn't want to be late for. So he coaxes Daniel to get things going. But he has no sooner begun than Simon hears movements in the coffin. He insists, he cries out. There are no movements in the coffin, he's hallucinating. Male guests run bewildered to the coffin to see what's going on, with the result that the lid breaks loose and the deceased tumbles down in the lid to the floor. It is total pandemonium. The coffin is put together and everybody retires to take a break. During this interval, Daniel is approached by an unknown, vertically challenged guest who calls himself Peter. For privacy, they retire to the downstairs study, and he shows Daniel photographs of Daniel's father and himself as gay lovers. Daniel is poleaxed, especially when Peter demands £15,000, or else he will demonstrate the photographs to all the guests. While this crisis is unraveling, the film cuts to an intense episode outside. Simon, who's been told by drug cousin Troy that the hallucinogen will last for 8 hours, rushes in total panic through the guests to the upstairs bathroom, hastily followed by girlfriend Martha, who tries to talk to him through the bathroom door, but she can't. He locks himself in the bathroom, and Justin keeps trying to get off with her while she's talking to the boy in the bathroom. Eventually, Simon climbs out of the bathroom window to get away from the girlfriend, and he's stark naked outside. Here follows a series of brilliant cuts between the tumult in the study, which of course has been joined by Howard and Troy, and with naked Simon's efforts to climb up the roof. Martha has, by means of a convenient side ladder, got herself onto the house's top ledge and is urging Simon to come down from the roof. Meanwhile, all the guests have gathered on the lawn in utter amazement. In the study, Robert grapples with Peter. Now, this is Robert from New York. He grapples with Peter and gets him to the floor and urges Daniel, the reluctant Daniel, who's supposed to be organizing the funeral, to tie him up with rope. There is no rope around, but it's a piece of rope that holds the curtaining. And this piece of rope that holds the curtaining is used to tie the legs of Peter. Drastic solutions about the disposal of Peter's body. What are they going to do with this man's body? This man who holds terrible photographs that terrify Daniel and Robert. So to get Peter out of sight, Howard stuffs 5 alleged Valiums down the throat of Peter, who seems to pass away, seems to kill him. The scene with Howard and Uncle Alfie in the lavatory, he's being pushed on his in his wheelchair. The scene with Howard and Uncle Alfie in the lavatory is too graphic for a modest viewer. Someone very bright comes up with a solution. If Peter is lumped onto Daniel's father in the coffin, that's the way to get rid of him. He'll be buried. With all the guests in the garden marveling at Simon naked on the roof, there's opportunity to carry Peter into the sitting room and place him on top of the body in the coffin. The Reverend is by now really impatient and hustles the guests to continue the service. Come, get there, please hurry up. Daniel begins again with his lame eulogy, and there are kicks inside the coffin. And the next thing that happens, out struggles Peter. The wrap-ups to a hilarious series of crises remains for the viewer to enjoy. Great writing, great directing, and superb acting all round makes this one of the funniest movies ever made.